What's up? What's up, you guys? It's Eric with the Combat Engineer, letting you guys know first video today. So I hope you guys enjoy it. This is a burnt box hidden gun case slash changed multiple times on me design. If you guys like the video, go ahead and press that like and share button. Go ahead and share it with your friends on Facebook. Get the word out. More videos to come. Goal right now is 2 videos a month. Various different projects, scrap projects to customer projects. Hit that bell notification so you guys can see whenever I post other videos. And then in the comments below, if you guys want to see me build something, go ahead and let me know. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and yeah, let's just party on. Awesome, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks. Let's get to it. So as we get started on this, what we're going to do is I have this scrap plywood that I had laying around my shop. It was just sitting there. It's a little bit bowed. I had sitting on a rack. So what we're going to go through is we're going to take these actually came from a shelf or a cabinets that I had in the garage that I built originally when we first bought the house, but I ended up not being able to finish them. Honestly, just got flustered with them. So I'm stripping these down into 2-inch pieces, and that will be the dimension of my strips for the, I guess you'd call it the face of my box. What I'm doing here is basically just looking at it all. This is where I caught that, how bad everything was bowed and how annoying it was, but it is what it is. Doing a lot of cleanup here. I do not have a dust collection system in here, and it caused a massive issue. What we have here, just setting it out, taking a look at it, kind of getting things, putting them together. Again, this is where I saw a lot of my stuff was extremely bowed, like that piece right there. Had to flip it around, which in the end required a whole lot of belt sanding to get these pieces to be flush. No matter how many clamps I put on it, it was not going to get flush. Is what it is. I learned from it. You could see a lot of the pieces were stained from the previous project that I used this plywood on. A lot of that came out during the process of the sanding and actually turned out pretty good. What we're doing here is we're marking off how long the pieces are going to be. I think I ended up going with 33 inches on here, if I can remember. Wasn't too bad to do the 33 inches. I didn't want to do too big of a box. The original plan was to do almost, I think, a little over 3 foot, but I backed off of that and wanted to do a little bit smaller of a piece. You guys can see the stupid light that I'm hanging above. The cord actually kept hitting me in the face and was driving me nuts when we were doing this project, but I threw the light up there because my shop has these gigantic racks, and I lack a lot of the light from the front of the garage to get to the back side of the garage. Right here, I'm just going to cut these strips down on the table saw. I think I straightened off the ends. I think the ends weren't exactly square, so I straightened them off. Just, I think it was like 1/4 of an inch, popped them off, and from there, just started cutting everything down to its final dimension. As you can see, this is one of my mistakes with my video, is it's a little bit too close to the actual thing, to the actual miter saw, but when I looked at it, at the lens, I flipped the camera around so that I can see what I'm recording. It didn't look that close, but once I started doing the video, man, yeah, I was really close, so apologize for that. Glue up. The fun part of woodworking. So this glue up was difficult. I ended up doing a bead of super glue with the glue, and that just allowed it to kind of harden a little bit quicker, allowed me to, I don't have enough clamps, so I had to use the super glue to be able to get this stuff to basically harden a little bit quicker. I know a lot of people don't use that, but it is what it is. On this one, going through, wiping up all of the excess, did not come off very well, which also required a lot of the sanding that I was talking about. but ended up doing pretty good on it. This little brush is awesome. I love this thing. I bought that for like $2 on Amazon, and it does wonders for me. So as I went through each little piece, I clamped down and allowed it to be clamped for a couple minutes and then moved on from it. Something you guys don't see on the camera is I actually had the ends clamped. Well, maybe you do see it. I had them clamped and tried to keep it flush, and this is the outcome of it. It was pretty good, but there was probably like a 1/16 of an inch raise on some of them. Okay guys, so next thing we're going to do is I already sanded the backside of this, I guess the cover, backside of the flag. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to stain the backside, and then we'll move on to making the actual box for the complete case. So I went ahead, and as you guys heard in the last video, or the last clip, I was talking about the flag. This is where the design changed, and I did not want to go with the American flag. Here I am wiping down some stain on this, Danish oil, pretty dark. It actually didn't turn out as dark as I thought it would be, but the can looked like it was dark. So just running through, go ahead knocking this out now versus at the end. As you guys can see, it didn't take very long when you wipe it down. It actually dried pretty quickly, but ended up just running a couple coats over that. And then right here, I am actually getting the size of my cover and using that for basically my dimensions for my box. Mistake number 2 was doing that. I should have built the box first and then built the cover, but unfortunately, when I get going, I lose all common sense during the build process. So it is what it is on that. And so right here, I was just looking to try to find some scrap pieces that were long enough. Some of them were just too bowed for me, but I ended up finding a pretty good long piece to actually use. And what I did here was just basically to see if it was wide enough. I think my pieces were 1.5 inches wide for my strips for the actual box, and so I finally found a piece, starting to cut it down here. As you guys see, I have no mask on, no hearing protection. Do not do as I do. I never follow safety. I probably should. Here I'm ended up cutting the ends off, making them square, and then going through and marking off the measurements. I think it was like 33 inches for the actual width of these pieces, or the actual length of these pieces. I apologize. I believe so, but ended up cutting. I bought that new miter saw a few weeks back to Harbor Freight. No, there's a lot of hate on Harbor Freight, but this thing has held up like a champ for me, and I really, really enjoy it. So if you guys, get a chance, go to Harbor Freight. I think the thing cost me $100. Home Depot was like $300. So as you guys see, I'm actually cutting 45s on these edges, and it ended up chipping out a lot of the actual piece, but I ended up making it work. As you guys can see here, I'm doing the super glue. I actually ran out of glue on this, so I'm doing super glue, holding them together. It worked pretty well, but not that great. But I ran out of the glue, and I was tired of going to the hardware store. So here I am knocking in pins for this. These are small pins that I actually covered up and hid with a little bit of putty, but not the normal way I would have done it. But it is what it is on that. And so here I'm going and giving my first shot at burning this stuff. As you can see, it is a skill that I probably should have did some test piece, but it is what it is. And so I have some spots that are a little bit darker than others, some spots that didn't get much of that charred look, but it was kind of cool doing it. I enjoyed it. Going through with some sand, I think it was 220 grit, and just kind of scraping off those little flakes, burnt flakes. During this, I probably should have burned it a little bit more, but it was my first time, and to be honest with you, I watched tons of videos. It's not as easy as a lot of people think to do this. I also realized mistake number, I think 3 or 4, that plywood is the horrible choice to do this burnt look. It did not turn out very well, but unfortunately I had a ton of plywood laying around, and wood is like $6 million a linear foot, so didn't do it. Next time I'll probably do it with like an oak or something I can get a better grain look. When they do that with the grain, it looks really, really good. Here, running through, putting it up on my box cover, and realized that I'm a little proud in some spots. It didn't line up quite as well as I wanted it to, which in turn required me to do a lot of belt sanding to get it shrunk down to fit. And the best part was I never was out of squares, so it ended up working out pretty well for me. So just clamping it right now to try to get a better idea of how off I am with my overhangs on some of my pieces. And I think it was my board face, the actual box face was what was really kind of threw me off. The actual box that I made that's sitting on top that I'm clamping down wasn't off. It was the actual, I guess you can call it the cover. We'll just call it the box cover is what was off. So going through this one, I should have put a lot more thought into it, but it was, for me, it's not how I do it with the customer. Basically right here, I just took some scrap plywood and just put it on the back and screwed it down into there, onto the actual cabinet frame or the box frame, and that was it. It's not what I would normally do if I was to do it for a customer. Actually, I wouldn't do it for a customer at all, but unfortunately that's how it went. So I'm throwing over some polyurethane, wipe on polyurethane here. As you guys can see, a lot of that sanding took off a lot of the char, but it popped once I got this wipe on poly on here. And I think I did 3 coats on this, and I actually sanded this all the way up to like over 400 something grit. But you guys can see in the video I left out the sanding because it gets super boring, and there was like 2 hours worth of sanding on here, and I honestly didn't feel like going through and editing all of that sanding to just get a 5-second piece. I think this is where I decided I was going to do my second coat of the polyurethane. Here I just dumped it everywhere. That plywood soaked that stuff up super quick, so I ended up just taking a rag and trying to go as quick as I can with it. Ended up giving a wonderful shine. I was really happy with that product. As you guys can see, this is the finished product. You also see I did not add a video clip of me putting the hinges right there on here. I apologize for that. This changed from being a hidden case to now just a display case for my office.